Welcome to my channel. Try to hear the latest story.
3 years ago, my coworker screamed that I assaulted her in the office parking garage. The police were called, my career was destroyed, and everyone believed her, until security footage surfaced showing the entire incident never happened. She got 5 years for perjury. I got my life back. And when she finally got out, she showed up at my door, begging for forgiveness. I didn't even let her finish. Hey Reddit, I'm writing this because people keep asking why I don't go to company events anymore, why I changed careers, why I moved to a different state. The short answer is, someone tried to destroy my life with one lie. And even though the truth came out, some things don't heal. Some scars stay visible even after the wound closes. 3 years ago, I was a 29-year-old guy working at a decent insurance firm in the city, Summit Financial Group, one of those places with glass walls and motivational posters about teamwork. Had my own apartment downtown, a girlfriend I'd been dating for 2 years named Lisa, who worked as a nurse, and a promotion to senior claims analyst I'd worked 5 years to earn. Life wasn't perfect, but it was steady, predictable, safe. I had a routine. Wake up at 6, hit the gym before work, grab the same sandwich from the deli on 5th Street for lunch, stay late when needed, go home to Lisa. We'd talk about our days, watch something mindless on streaming, fall asleep planning a vacation we kept putting off. It was boring in the best way possible. The kind of boring you don't appreciate until it's gone. Then one Thursday night in September, all of that ended. I'm Alex, now 32 male, and this is what happened when someone decided I was guilty before I even knew what I was accused of. Let me start from the beginning because the details matter. They always matter when someone's trying to destroy you. It was around 8:30 p.m. on a Thursday. I'd stayed late finishing quarterly reports for a meeting the next morning. Not unusual for me. The office had that quiet, empty feeling it gets after everyone leaves. No ringing phones, no chatter from cubicles, no hum of printers. Just the buzz of overhead lights and the occasional click of the air conditioning kicking in. I liked working late. Something about the silence helped me focus. Plus, Lisa was working a double shift at the hospital that night, so going home to an empty apartment didn't appeal to me anyway. Better to knock out the work while I had momentum. Around 8:25, I saved my files, shut down my computer, and grabbed my messenger bag. The office building had underground parking, 4 levels deep, poorly lit, with concrete pillars every 15 feet. My car was on level 3, near the back corner where the monthly parkers were assigned. The elevator ride down was uneventful. I stepped out into the garage and immediately felt the temperature drop. It was always freezing down there, like they ran the AC at full blast even in September. My footsteps echoed as I walked toward my car, a gray Honda Civic I'd had since college. That's when I heard it. Footsteps behind me. Fast. Almost running. I turned around and saw Jenna, a colleague from the claims department. We weren't friends, barely spoke outside of work emails, but I recognized her immediately. She was maybe 26, quiet, kept to herself. She'd been with the company about 8 months. We'd exchanged pleasantries in the break room a few times, talked about weather or weekend plans, nothing deep. But that night, she looked different. Her makeup was smudged under her eyes like she'd been crying. Her hair was messy. She was breathing hard, chest heaving like she'd just sprinted down the stairs. I stopped walking. Something felt off. "Hey, you okay?" I asked, keeping my distance. I was maybe 10 feet away from her, closer to my car than she was. She didn't answer right away, just stared at me with this wild, panicked look in her eyes. Her hands were shaking. "Jenna?" I said again. "Are you all right? Do you need help?" She took a step back, then another. "Stay away from me," she said. Her voice cracked. I blinked, confused. "What?" "I said stay away," she yelled, louder this time. I raised my hands, palms out, trying to look non-threatening. Okay, I'm not doing anything. I'm just heading to my car." She kept backing up, eyes locked on mine like I was some kind of threat. Then she turned and bolted toward the stairwell, her heels clicking against the concrete, echoing through the empty garage. I stood there for a second, heart pounding, trying to process what just happened. My first thought was that she'd seen something, maybe someone following her, and panicked. I figured she'd mistaken me for whoever scared her, or maybe she was just freaked out being alone in a parking garage at night. Either way, I didn't think much of it. I got in my car, drove home, heated up leftover pizza, and went to bed. That was my mistake. I should have gone straight to HR, should have written down exactly what happened while it was fresh in my mind, should have sent an email documenting the encounter. But I didn't. I figured it was a misunderstanding, something that would blow over. I was wrong. The next morning, I walked into the office and immediately knew something was wrong. People were staring, whispering. Some turned away when they saw me. Others just gawked, like I'd grown a second head overnight. My desk had a yellow sticky note. Report to HR immediately. Do not stop anywhere else. Do not talk to anyone. My stomach dropped. I walked to the HR office on the third floor, my brain running through every possible scenario. Maybe I'd screwed up a report. Maybe there was a compliance issue. Maybe someone complained about something I said in a meeting. I didn't even consider the possibility of what was actually waiting for me. The HR office door was already open. Inside were 3 people. Sandra, the HR director, who usually smiled and made small talk about her grandkids. Greg, the office manager who'd congratulated me on my promotion 2 months earlier. And a woman I didn't recognize wearing a dark blazer and a police badge clipped to her belt. Sit down, Alex, Sandra said. Her voice was cold, formal, nothing like the friendly tone she usually had. I sat. The detective leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. She had sharp eyes, the kind that looked through you instead of at you. I'm Detective Morris with the City Police Department, she said. We received a complaint last night regarding an incident in the parking garage. A female employee claims you assaulted her. The words didn't register at first. They just hung in the air, not making sense. What? I finally said. No, that didn't happen. The victim says you cornered her near her car, grabbed her arm, and made threatening statements. That's not true, I said, my voice rising. I saw Jenna last night, but I didn't touch her. She seemed scared, started yelling at me to stay away, then ran off. I didn't even know what was happening. Detective Morris wrote something in her notepad. So you admit you were there. I was walking to my car. She was behind me. I turned around, asked if she was okay, and she freaked out. That's it. I never touched her. That's not what she says. My hands were shaking. I gripped the edge of the chair to steady them. Then she's lying. I don't know why, but she's lying. The detective wrote something else down. Sandra spoke up next. Alex, we're placing you on administrative leave pending the investigation. You need to leave the building immediately. Security will escort you to collect your personal belongings. You're suspending me? For something I didn't do? It's policy, she said flatly. We take these allegations very seriously. So do I said. Which is why I'm telling you it didn't happen. Greg stood up. Alex, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. We're following protocol. Protocol? Like I was already guilty. They escorted me to my desk. 2 security guards stood nearby while I packed my things into a cardboard box. People watched from their cubicles, eyes wide, whispering behind cupped hands. I could feel their judgment radiating off them like heat. When I got to the parking garage, my phone was already buzzing nonstop. Texts from coworkers I thought were friends. Dude, what did you do? Is it true? I can't believe this. Not one of them said, Are you okay? Not one asked for my side. I called Lisa. She answered on the 4th ring. I heard, she said before I could speak. Her voice was tight, guarded. It's not true. You know me. I would never... Alex, people are talking. They're saying she went to the police. They're saying there's an investigation. Because she lied, I said. Lisa, you have to believe me. I didn't do anything. There was a long pause. Too long. I want to believe you, she finally said. But why would she lie about something like this? That sentence hit harder than any punch. You don't believe me. I didn't say that. I hung up. I sat in my car in the parking garage for almost an hour, staring at the concrete wall in front of me. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My chest felt tight, like someone was standing on it. In less than 24 hours, I'd gone from a normal guy with a job and a girlfriend to a suspected criminal. No trial, no evidence, just an accusation. And everyone believed it. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying the encounter in my head, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong. Had I stood too close? Said something that scared her? Looked at her the wrong way? But no matter how many times I replayed it, the answer was the same. I hadn't done anything. So why was she lying? The answer came a week later, but not in the way I expected. My lawyer, a guy named Richard who I'd hired the day after getting suspended, called me with news. They're not pressing charges, he said. Relief flooded through me. So it's over? Not quite, he said. There's no evidence to support her claim, but that doesn't mean the damage is undone. Your company's still investigating internally. What do you mean there's no evidence? I didn't do anything. Exactly. No witnesses, no physical evidence, nothing. But accusations like this don't need proof to ruin reputations. He was right. The police dropped the case, but the whispers didn't stop. People at my gym stopped making eye contact. My landlord knocked on my door one evening and awkwardly asked if everything was okay after hearing from another tenant about the incident. Even the cashier at the deli I went to every day started acting weird around me. Lisa broke up with me over text 2 weeks later. I can't do this anymore. My parents won't stop asking questions, and I don't know what to tell them. I'm sorry. I stared at the message for a long time before responding. I didn't do it. Her reply came 5 minutes later. I know, but it doesn't matter anymore. 3 weeks after the accusation, Summit Financial quietly let me go. They called it restructuring, said the position was being eliminated due to budget cuts. Richard warned me not to fight it. You'll lose, he said. They can fire you for any reason as long as they don't admit it's because of the allegation. So I signed the severance papers and walked away. I spent the next 2 months applying to jobs, sent out 73 resumes, got 12 interviews. Every single one went well until they called my old company for references. Then the offers disappeared. The first time it happened, I thought it was a coincidence. I'd interviewed for a financial analyst position at a small investment firm. The interview went great. They told me they'd have an offer by end of week. 3 days later, I got a generic rejection email. No explanation. The second time, I knew something was wrong. I'd made it to the final round for a compliance officer role. The hiring manager practically told me the job was mine. Then, radio silence for a week. When I followed up, they said they'd decided to go in a different direction. After the 5th rejection, I called one of the recruiters I'd worked with. She was hesitant to tell me the truth, but eventually she did. They didn't say anything directly, she said carefully, but they made it clear they wouldn't rehire you. That's usually a red flag for us. We have to assume there was some kind of performance issue or misconduct. There wasn't, I said. You can look it up. The police dropped the case. There was no evidence. I believe you, she said, but employers don't want to take the risk. Even if you were cleared, the accusation itself is enough to make them nervous. A red flag. For something I didn't do. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call Summit Financial and demand they stop sabotaging my career. But Richard warned me against it. They'll just say they gave a neutral reference, he said. You can't prove they're saying anything negative. But the tone they use, the pauses, the things they don't say, that's enough to tank your chances. So I stopped listing Summit Financial as a reference. Started saying I'd left for personal reasons, but that created its own problems. Gaps in employment, vague explanations. Interviewers who looked at me skeptically when I couldn't provide concrete details about why I'd left a job I'd had for 5 years. I burned through my savings, paying rent and legal fees. $6,000 in 1 month alone. Another $4,000 the next. By month 3, I was down to $800 in my checking account and a credit card bill I couldn't pay. I started driving for a rideshare company just to cover bills. 10-hour shifts, 6 days a week, picking up strangers and making small talk while my life fell apart. Some passengers were nice, most were indifferent, a few were rude. One guy asked me why I was driving rideshare if I had a college degree. I told him I was between jobs. He laughed and said, "Must have screwed something up pretty bad." I didn't respond. Some nights, I'd sit in my car outside a gas station, waiting for ride requests, and wonder how my life had fallen apart so fast. I'd think about Lisa, about the promotion I'd worked 5 years for, about the apartment I'd probably lose if I couldn't make next month's rent. I wasn't angry anymore, just tired. One night, around 2 a.m., I picked up a passenger from a bar downtown. He was clearly intoxicated, stumbling into the back seat, mumbling about his ex-wife. Halfway through the ride, he asked what I did for a living. This, I said. No, I mean really, he slurred. What's your real job? This is my real job, I said. He laughed, that mean kind of laugh people do when they think they're better than you. Man, you must have messed up somewhere. I pulled over at the next light and told him to get out. What? Why? Because I'm done being disrespected by people who don't know anything about me, I said calmly. Get out. He started to argue, but something in my voice made him stop. He got out, slammed the door, and I drove away. That was the moment I realized I couldn't keep doing this. Not the rideshare driving, I could handle that. But the constant feeling of being judged, of being seen as less than, of having my entire worth reduced to one lie someone told about me. I needed the truth to come out. Not for vindication, not for revenge, just so I could breathe again. Then, 6 months after the accusation, everything changed. I was in my apartment eating ramen noodles at my kitchen counter when my phone rang. Richard. Alex, you need to sit down for this. I'm already sitting. The security footage from your old office surfaced. My heart stopped. What footage? From the parking garage, the company finally handed it over as part of a separate investigation, some unrelated workplace complaint. And Alex, it shows everything. I could barely breathe. What does it show? It shows you walking to your car. Jenna runs up behind you. You turn, you talk for maybe 10 seconds, then she runs away. At no point do you touch her. At no point are you even within arm's reach. The angle's perfect. You can see both of you clearly. There's no way to misinterpret it. I didn't speak. I couldn't. It proves she lied, he continued. And because she filed a police report with false information, the district attorney's office is charging her with perjury and filing a false report. The relief I thought I'd feel didn't come. Instead, I just felt hollow. The footage existed the whole time? I asked. Yes. They could have checked it immediately? Yes. But they didn't. No, they didn't. I hung up and sat there in my tiny apartment, staring at the peeling wallpaper. The truth didn't matter when people wanted to believe the lie. The trial happened 8 months later. I sat in the back of the courtroom, watching Jenna squirm under questioning. Her lawyer tried to argue she misremembered the details, that she was confused and traumatized by something unrelated. But the footage didn't lie. The jury saw it. 20 seconds of grainy black and white video showing exactly what happened. Me walking, her running up, a brief conversation, her running away, no contact, no aggression, nothing. The prosecutor hammered it home. This woman knowingly filed a false police report against an innocent man. She sat in an interview room and lied to detectives. She cost him his job, his reputation, and nearly destroyed his life. This isn't a mistake. This is malicious. When the verdict came back guilty, the courtroom went silent. The judge sentenced her to 5 years. 5 years in state prison. People gasped. Jenna broke down crying, begging for leniency. Her lawyer argued she had a young daughter who needed her, that she was a single mother, that prison would destroy her life. The judge wasn't moved. You knowingly filed a false report against an innocent man. You sat in front of police officers and lied under oath. You cost Mr. Hayes his livelihood, his reputation, and subjected him to months of suffering. Actions have consequences, Ms. Patterson. You'll serve 5 years. Afterward, Richard shook my hand outside the courthouse. You won, Alex. Your name's cleared. Yeah, I said. The local news picked up the story. Woman sentenced to 5 years for false assault claim. My name was in the articles, cleared of all wrongdoing. People who'd ghosted me suddenly reached out with apologies. I didn't respond to most of them. Summit Financial sent a formal apology letter. They offered me my job back, with a raise and a corner office. I declined. Instead, I took the settlement money from the civil lawsuit I'd filed, $180,000, and moved to Colorado. Started fresh. Got a job as a logistics coordinator for a shipping company. I rented a small house with a yard. Adopted a dog from a shelter, a rescue mutt named Boomer, who'd been returned 3 times. We were a good match. I met someone new. Her name's Kate. She's a paramedic. We met at a hardware store when she needed help fixing a leaky sink. Started talking, exchanged numbers, and things grew from there. The hardware store thing was random. I was there on a Sunday morning buying supplies to fix a broken fence post in my yard. Kate was standing in the plumbing aisle looking completely lost, holding 2 different wrenches. "Which one do I need for a bathroom sink?" she asked when she caught me looking. I walked over. "Depends on what you're fixing. The thing under the sink is leaking. The U-shaped pipe. That's the P-trap. You'll need this one." I pointed to the basin wrench in her left hand. "That other one's for pipes in the wall." She smiled. "Thanks. I have no idea what I'm doing. Just bought my first house and trying to avoid calling someone for every little thing." "YouTube is your friend," I said. We ended up talking for 20 minutes right there in the aisle. She told me she was a paramedic, worked nights at the city hospital, had just moved to Colorado from Oregon. I told her I worked in logistics, had moved here about a year ago. She didn't ask why, just said, "Sometimes a fresh start is the best thing you can do." We exchanged numbers. 2 days later, she texted me asking if I could help her fix the P-trap because her YouTube tutorial had resulted in flooding her bathroom floor. I drove over, fixed it in 10 minutes, and she made me dinner as a thank you. That was the beginning. We dated casually for a few months. She'd work her 12-hour shifts at the hospital, come over afterwards smelling like antiseptic and exhaustion, and we'd watch movies or cook dinner together. She never pushed me to talk about my past. Never asked invasive questions. Just let me exist without judgment. It took me 3 months to tell her about Jenna. We were sitting on her back porch one evening in late summer. She'd just finished a shift and was still in her scrubs, drinking iced tea and watching the sunset over the mountains. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Why'd you move to Colorado? You've mentioned you're from back east, but you've never really said why you left. I took a breath. I'd known this conversation was coming, had practiced what I'd say, but actually saying it out loud was harder than I expected. Someone accused me of something I didn't do, I said slowly. It was a coworker. She said I assaulted her in a parking garage, filed a police report. I got suspended, lost my job, lost my girlfriend. Took almost a year for the truth to come out. Kate didn't say anything for a moment, just looked at me with those calm, steady eyes. What happened to her? She asked. Security footage proved I didn't do it. She got charged with perjury and filing a false report, sentenced to 5 years in prison. Kate nodded slowly. Did she serve the full sentence? Got out after 3 years on good behavior. And you? And I moved here. Started over. She reached over and squeezed my hand. You're not that story anymore. You rebuilt. That's what matters. I looked at her. This woman I'd known for 3 months who somehow understood exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you, I said. For what? For not looking at me differently. She smiled. Why would I? You didn't do anything wrong. Someone lied about you. That's not your shame to carry. We dated for another 9 months before she asked me to move in. I was nervous about it, worried I'd bring my baggage into her space. But she insisted. I've seen you at your worst, she said. When you wake up at 3 a.m. from nightmares. When you flinch if someone walks up behind you too fast. When you check your phone constantly worried someone's spreading rumors. I've seen all of it, Alex. And I'm still here. So I moved in, brought Boomer, my few belongings, and started building something that felt permanent. Living with Kate was different than living with Lisa had been. Kate didn't need me to be perfect. Didn't need me to pretend the accusation hadn't affected me. She just needed me to be honest about it. Some days were hard. I'd see someone who looked like Jenna at the grocery store, and my heart would start racing. Or I'd read a news article about a false accusation and spend hours spiraling, wondering if it could happen again. Kate never told me to get over it or move on. She'd just sit with me during those moments and remind me I was safe. Life settled into something that felt normal. Work, Boomer, Kate, peace. Then, 2 years after the trial, I got a letter. Plain white envelope, no return address. Inside was a handwritten note. Alex, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I destroyed your life because I was scared and selfish. Please give me a chance to explain. Jenna. I threw it in the trash. A week later, she showed up at my house. It was a Saturday evening around 7 p.m. I was grilling burgers on the back patio when Boomer started barking at the front door. Not his normal bark, but the aggressive one he saved for strangers he didn't trust. I walked through the house, wiping my hands on a towel, looked through the peephole. Jenna. She looked different, thinner, older, hair pulled back in a ponytail. No makeup. Wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt. 3 years in prison had aged her a decade. I opened the door but didn't step aside. Didn't invite her in. Just stood there blocking the entrance with Boomer growling behind me. What do you want? I said. She looked nervous, wringing her hands together. Please, just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. No. Alex, I know I hurt you. Hurt me? I cut her off. You tried to destroy me. There's a difference. I need to explain. You lied, I said flatly. You accused me of assault, filed a police report, sat in an interview room and lied to detectives. You knew exactly what you were doing. Tears started forming in her eyes. I was going through something. My ex was harassing me at the time, calling me constantly, showing up at my apartment. I panicked. Hey, I thought if I said someone at work did something, he'd back off. You thought you'd use me as a scapegoat. I didn't think it would go that far, she said, voice breaking. I thought maybe you'd deny it and people would forget. I didn't think they'd fire you. You didn't think I'd end up homeless? I said, driving rideshare at 2 a.m. to afford ramen noodles? You didn't think I'd lose my girlfriend, my friends, my entire life? She was crying now, wiping her nose with her sleeve. I'm sorry. I hate myself for what I did. I think about it every day. I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see your face from that courtroom. Good. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Please. I served my time. I paid my debt. I just want a chance to make things right. You can't make this right, I said. You stole a year of my life. You made me afraid to be alone with women. You made me question every interaction I have because I'm terrified someone else will decide I'm guilty of something I didn't do. You can't fix that with an apology. Then what do you want from me? She asked, voice rising. I went to prison. I lost custody of my daughter. I can't find a job. My own family won't talk to me. What more do you want? Nothing, I said. I don't want anything from you. I just want you gone. She stepped closer, reaching out like she was going to touch my arm. I stepped back. Don't, I said sharply. Don't touch me. Don't contact me. Don't come here again. If you show up at my house one more time, I'm calling the police and filing for a restraining order. Please, Get off my property, I said quietly. Now. She stood there for another second, tears streaming down her face, looking at me like I was the villain in this story. Then she turned and walked back to her car parked at the curb, a beat-up sedan that looked like it barely ran. I watched her drive away, then closed the door and locked it. Kate came out of the bedroom a minute later. Who was that? Nobody, I said. Alex. I turned to look at her. That was Jenna, the woman who accused me. Kate's expression hardened. What did she want? Forgiveness. Did you give it to her? No. Kate walked over and hugged me. Good. She doesn't deserve it. 6 months later, I got a message on social media from someone named David. I worked at Summit Financial and Accounting. Jenna did the same thing to me 3 years before you. Can we meet? I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. That chapter was closed, but curiosity won. What about her? I typed back. His response came immediately. She accused me of the same thing. Different location, same pattern. I have documentation. There are others. Can we talk? We met at a coffee shop in downtown Denver the next Saturday. David was mid-30s, thin, wearing glasses and a button-down shirt. He had a folder with him, thick, stuffed with papers. Thanks for meeting me, he said, shaking my hand. His grip was firm, but his hands were cold, nervous. What's this about? I asked, sitting down. He opened the folder and slid a document across the table. It was a police report from 4 years earlier. Victim name redacted. Accused, David Mitchell. Allegation, inappropriate conduct in the workplace. She did it to me 3 years before she did it to you, David said. Different story, same playbook. Said I cornered her in the break room after hours. Made inappropriate comments. I got suspended immediately. They investigated for 2 months. Almost pressed charges. My stomach tightened. What happened? Her story kept changing. First she said it happened on a Tuesday evening. Then she said Wednesday morning. Then she said I grabbed her arm. Then she said I just stood too close. The police couldn't make anything stick because the details never matched. But the damage was done. You lost your job? Not immediately. But I couldn't handle the whispers. Everyone looked at me like I was guilty even though they cleared me. I left 6 months later. Moved to a different city. Started over in a lower-paying position. He pulled out more documents. Police reports. HR complaints. News articles. After your case made the news, I started digging, David said. Found 3 other guys. Different companies, different cities, but the same pattern. She works somewhere for 6 to 8 months, then accuses someone of something. Gets attention, sympathy, sometimes a promotion or transfer, then moves on to the next job and does it again. I sat back in my chair. 5 times? At least. Maybe more that we haven't found yet. He slid business cards across the table. These are the other 3. I've talked to all of them. They're willing to testify if we can build a case. I've already contacted a lawyer who specializes in defamation. Her name's Patricia Brennan. She thinks we have a shot. A civil case? Yeah. Sue her for defamation, emotional distress, lost wages, make it public record, make sure future employers see exactly what she's done. I picked up one of the business cards. Brian Foster, regional manager. Another card. Tom Chen, IT consultant. Third card. James Rivera, educational consultant. Have you talked to all of them? I asked. Yeah. Set up a group call last week. They're all in if you are. I thought about it. The criminal trial was over. Jenna had served her time. I'd moved on, built a new life. Did I really want to drag myself back into court? Then I thought about the next guy, the one who'd come after me, the one who might be going through it right now. I'm in, I said. David smiled, the first time his expression had softened since we sat down. Thank you. We met with Patricia the following week. All 5 of us in a conference room at her law office. She was mid-50s, sharp-eyed, wearing a navy suit and carrying a leather briefcase that looked older than I was. Gentlemen, she said, sitting down at the head of the table, I've reviewed the materials David sent me. This is one of the most clear-cut patterns of malicious defamation I've seen in 20 years of practice. She opened her briefcase and pulled out copies of everything. Police reports, employment records, timelines, 5 victims, 5 separate employers, 5 nearly identical accusations over an 8-year span. In every case, Ms. Patterson received temporary sympathy or accommodations from her employer before leaving for a new position. In every case, her story contained inconsistencies that prevented criminal prosecution. And in every case, the accused suffered significant professional and personal damage. She looked at each of us. This is winnable, but it won't be easy. She'll claim mental illness, trauma, confusion. Her lawyer will try to paint her as a victim of circumstance. We need to be prepared for that. How long will it take? Brian asked. A year, maybe more. Depends on how aggressively they fight. But gentlemen, I want to be clear about something. She leaned forward. This isn't about revenge. This is about accountability. This is about making sure what happened to you doesn't happen to someone else. We all nodded. Good, Patricia said. Then let's get to work. The civil trial took a year. We connected with all 5 victims. Patricia systematically destroyed Jenna's defense, showed the pattern, brought in witnesses, even had a forensic psychologist testify about manipulative behavior. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Every day, I sat in that courtroom watching Patricia dismantle Jenna's life the same way Jenna had dismantled mine. Day 1, she brought in David. He testified about his experience, the accusation, the investigation, the career he lost. Jenna's lawyer tried to discredit him, but Patricia had documentation, emails, police reports, HR records. Everything matched. Day 3, the second victim took the stand. A guy named Brian, who'd worked with Jenna at a retail company in 2014. She'd accused him of following her to her car. Same story, same panic, same lies. He'd lost his management position and ended up working warehouse jobs for 2 years before rebuilding his career. Day 5, victim number 3. Tom, an IT specialist from a hospital where Jenna had worked briefly in 2016. She'd accused him of cornering her in a server room. Hospital administration fired him immediately. His wife left him. He moved back in with his parents at age 34. Day 7, victim number 4. James, a teacher who'd worked summer school with Jenna in 2017. She accused him of inappropriate behavior during a staff meeting. He was suspended, investigated by the state board, and ultimately cleared. But the school district didn't renew his contract. He left teaching entirely. By day 9, the pattern was impossible to ignore. 5 men, 5 different jobs, 5 identical playbooks. Jenna would panic about something, usually a personal crisis, and create a false accusation to deflect attention or gain sympathy. Patricia brought in the forensic psychologist on day 10. Dr. Chen testified about patterns of manipulative behavior, explaining how Jenna's accusations showed premeditation and calculation, not confusion or trauma. This isn't someone misremembering events, Dr. Chen said. This is someone weaponizing the legal system and social dynamics to achieve personal goals. Jenna's lawyer tried to argue mental illness, brought in a psychologist who diagnosed her with anxiety and PTSD from her abusive ex-boyfriend. But Patricia shut it down in cross-examination. Did she exhibit these behaviors before meeting the ex-boyfriend? Patricia asked. I don't have records dating back that far, the psychologist admitted. So you can't say definitively that her pattern of false accusations stems from trauma caused by him? No, I can't say definitively. And yet you're asking this jury to excuse 5 separate incidents of malicious false reporting because of a diagnosis you can't directly link to the behavior? The psychologist didn't have an answer. On day 12, Patricia called me to the stand. I testified about everything. The parking garage, the suspension, losing my job, my girlfriend, my savings, driving rideshare at 2 a.m. just to pay rent, the months of wondering if my life would ever be normal again. Jenna's lawyer tried to make me seem vindictive. You're asking for $460,000 from a woman who served 3 years in prison. Don't you think she suffered enough? No, I said. She destroyed my life deliberately. She filed a false police report knowing exactly what would happen to me. 3 years in prison doesn't undo the year I spent homeless and unemployed. It doesn't undo the relationships I lost or the reputation she destroyed. So this is about revenge? This is about accountability. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they came back, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all counts. The judge awarded us a combined settlement of $2.3 million. My share was $460,000. When we walked out of the courthouse, David said, "We won, but it doesn't feel like winning." No, I said. It doesn't. 3 months later, I got another letter from Jenna. She was broke, living with her mother, couldn't find work. She begged me to forgive the judgment. I filed it away and didn't respond. Kate asked me once, "Do you ever think about forgiving her?" No, I said. Forgiveness implies she deserves it. A year after that, Kate and I got married. Small ceremony in the mountains with 30 people. Bought a house with a bigger yard for Boomer and the second dog we'd adopted, Luna, a 3-legged rescue who had more energy than both of us combined. I got promoted to senior logistics manager, overseeing 3 warehouses across the western region. Life was good, stable, normal. One Saturday afternoon, I was at the grocery store buying supplies for a barbecue when I turned down the produce aisle and almost walked straight into Lisa, my ex-girlfriend, the one who dumped me over text 4 years earlier. She stopped, cart half full of groceries, staring at me like I was a ghost. "Alex?" she said. "Hey," I said. Awkward silence. She looked older, not in a bad way, just different, wearing scrubs like she'd just gotten off shift. "I heard about the civil trial," she finally said. "I saw it on the news last year. The other victims, the settlement, all of it." "Yeah." She bit her lip, looking uncomfortable. "I'm sorry for not believing you back then, for leaving when you needed someone. I've thought about it a lot over the years." I looked at her for a moment. Once, her apology would have meant everything. Now it just felt like words. "It's fine," I said. "We both moved on." "No, it's not fine," she insisted. "I should have trusted you. I should have stood by you." I was scared and stupid, and I've regretted it ever since. When I saw the footage on the news during your trial, I felt sick. I knew immediately I'd made a horrible mistake. "Lisa," I said gently, "it's done. You don't owe me anything." "Are you happy?" she asked suddenly. "Yeah," I said. "I am." "Married?" "Yeah. Wife, house, dog, the whole thing." She smiled, small, sad, but genuine. "Good. You deserve that. You deserved it back then too. I'm sorry I couldn't see it." "It's okay," I said. "Really." We said goodbye. She walked toward the dairy section. I watched her go, feeling nothing but closure. When I got home, Kate was in the kitchen prepping hamburgers for the grill. I told her about running into Lisa. "How'd that feel?" she asked, not looking up from the cutting board. "Like seeing someone from a different life," I said. "No anger, no bitterness, just nothing." She smiled. "That's growth." 6 months later, I got a call from Patricia. "Alex, heads up. Jenna filed for bankruptcy. She's trying to discharge the civil judgment. Can she do that?" "She can try. But given that the judgment was based on willful and malicious conduct, it's highly unlikely the court will allow it. The law's pretty clear on that. I just wanted you to know she's attempting it." "Okay. There's something else," Patricia said. "David filed a restraining order against her last month. She'd been showing up at his workplace, claiming she just wanted to apologize. Violated it 3 times. The judge gave her an additional year for contempt. I didn't say anything." "You okay?" Patricia asked. "Yeah," I said. "Just processing. She's never going to change, Alex. Some people are wired wrong. They go through life creating chaos and blaming everyone else. David did the right thing protecting himself. If she ever contacts you again, do the same." "I will." When I hung up, Kate was standing in the doorway, holding our daughter Emma, 9 months old, wearing a onesie with dinosaurs on it. "What was that about?" Kate asked. "Jenna. She's trying to get out of paying the settlement. Also got another year in jail for harassing David." Kate shifted Emma to her other hip. "Do you feel bad for her?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I said. "She had every chance to stop, to get help, to take responsibility. She chose not to." "Good," Kate said, "because she doesn't deserve your sympathy." Emma reached out for me, making grabby hands. I took her from Kate, and she immediately grabbed my nose, laughing. This was my life now. Not the courtrooms, or the accusations, or the lies. This. A wife who trusted me. A daughter who didn't know anything about my past. A job I was good at. A house I owned. Jenna had tried to destroy me. Tried to erase me from existence with one lie. Instead, I built something better than what I had before. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.